Hey guys, what's up? Before we get started on the garden tour today, I have two things that I need to talk to you about housekeeping wise. I finally got my sample of that sticker I was talking about. This is a limited run sticker. It is available on Patreon for the next 3 months. So there's a new sticker available every quarter for my patrons. And you can see I like to stick stickers on my seed cases. I have 3 of these things. And these are a couple of the other stickers that I've had, but my goal is to feature a different artist every year. And so last year we had my friend Casey Pierce, and this year we have my brother-in-law Miguel Pereda designing stickers for you guys. And part of supporting me on Patreon also supports them as artists making these stickers. So go check them out. That link is below for Patreon. I also want to let you guys know that this Friday there's going to be a live stream in the patron Discord. So through my Patreon, you can join my Discord community where you can share like pictures of your garden. You can ask me specific questions. And in this quarterly live stream that I have, you can actually chat with me live. Like if you want to, you can get on voice chat and we can just have a conversation about what's going on in your garden. So that is also linked below. And I really hope to see you guys there. Additionally, if you are not in the Discord, but you are still a patron, then the recording of that whole conversation is going to go up on Patreon for everybody. All right, so let's take a look at what is in the indoor seed starting setup. You'll notice I pulled in all my peppers, and that is actually because it got down below 50 degrees Fahrenheit last night. Something I've learned from listening to other creators and also through my own experience, you don't want to put peppers outside when it's still cool enough to get below 50 degrees Fahrenheit because it can stunt their growth a little bit. So even though it won't kill them, they'll just be happier. I mean, they want to be somewhere very warm. They are from Central and South America originally. And so these are very, very warm weather plants. And if it's getting below 50 degrees at night, they're just going to be generally unhappy. Although, granted, these peppers are already unhappy to begin with. So they're inside for a couple of days, and I'm thinking after that I might just go ahead and plant them out. It looks like it's going to be above 50, which is 10 Celsius at night for the next 10 days after that. So I might just go ahead and put these out, especially because they look so sad, and I think that having access to the rest of the soil outside is going to help them a lot. Some of the trays are looking better than others. This one has definitely greened up since I started applying fertilizer, but you can see all these leaves right here that have been dropped. These are just generally struggling plants. I'm hoping that they perk up once they are in the soil. I also have this tray here where I've started new sweet pepper seedlings. They are going to be obviously way behind, but better late than never, and I have a very long growing season, so I can probably get these in the ground and get a harvest from them before the end of the season. And this last tray here that isn't peppers is actually eggplant, and you can see it's been a little munched from being outside, but this is actually a pepper. Generally, eggplants are doing great. They're not experiencing the same nutrient deficiencies that I saw in the peppers, which I think is really weird because they also got potted up into the same potting soil. So go figure. I haven't had to wear a jacket outside in like a few weeks now, but it is quite chilly this morning. Still below 60 degrees outside even at like 11:30 a.m. I still have all of my leftover tomato seedlings here on the porch steps, and you can see the leaf curling. It's much worse in some than others, and keep in mind that these are all the plants that looked the worst. I picked the best ones out to plant in the garden. So you can see there's a little bit of that, but I mean these leaves right here, right? Those are flattening out just fine. So a lot of these plants I think are okay. They're just like maybe slightly unhappy for some reason. But a lot of these are going to get given away soon to people who need them. Everything is so green out today. We just had rain yesterday, so everything looks so healthy. All right, we'll go ahead and start on this side as normal. We actually have sprouts on this trellis. Let me show you. Right down here, this is a scarlet runner bean sprout, which has apparently already been munched on, but it's pushing through. And we can always replant if these get too eaten up. Once beans get going, they really go, right? So it just needs a little bit of time, and then it will suddenly be making more leaves than anything could eat. My strawberries along this outer edge are looking fantastic. They are just starting to put on fruit. They're slightly later than the ones in the berry patch, but only by like a week or so. And after they're done making fruit, they will start sending out runners. And that is the point at which they will actually start competing with the Bermuda grass that you can already see coming up right here. So down this first official row here, this is the tomato trellis. We've got very visible garlic running underneath it. And let's check in on these tomatoes that have been in the ground for, I think, over a week now. We've got some kind of stringy leaves here at the top. But if we go down a little bit, these leaves look really nice. These leaves look really nice. These leaves also look really nice. I think these plants are doing pretty well. I am also already seeing suckers coming out here, which I'm going to pluck because I am single stemming these tomatoes, which means that each of these suckers, if I let it grow, would be a whole nother main stem. And in order to keep these kind of contained and get them on the trellis, I am going to make sure that these suckers do not grow up. So last week I was talking about how I only grow indeterminate tomatoes. Those are the ones that keep growing all season and produce fruit a little at a time as they go, whereas a determinate variety would grow up to a certain size, put on all its fruit at once. Turns out I've made a mistake. Two of the new tomato varieties that I bought are apparently determinate, and I didn't read properly when I bought them, so I now have 2 out of 6 of my tomato varieties are determinate varieties. So I'll have to be careful when I'm looking at which tomatoes I'm pruning, because I do not want to prune the suckers off of my determinate plants. I have also planted basil in between my tomatoes. These are the ones you saw me planting last week at the end of the garden tour. And I topped all of those, if you remember, because I want this to split and give me 2 big main stems right here at the base so that it's a lot sturdier of a plant overall. But unfortunately, an unforeseen pest has destroyed a few of my plants, and that pest has black fur and an adorable face that is really hard to be mad at. But a couple of these plants, like this one, got dug up and I watched it happen, so I was able to push the soil back around it. It seems to have survived, whereas this one did not. So you can actually see right here, these are one of the holes that my cat has been making in the garden, and I don't fully blame her. I mean, I'm digging in the garden and she wants to participate in what I'm doing. Just a little misguided. Wow, this tomato plant is already flowering. Look at that. This is Borghese. This is one of the 2 determinate varieties. So I'm going to let that go, and might have tomatoes much sooner than I expected. Because mulching with grass clippings went pretty well in the raised beds, I've started doing that here in the garden. This area got super dug up because there were some big stones that we were running into trying to plant these tomatoes. So a lot of this was dug up, and the mulch is disintegrating from last year anyway. So right here, all of this is grass clippings, and you can see they're mixed pretty well with dead leaves. And so far, I'm pretty happy with how this is going, but, check in with me at the end of the season and we'll evaluate. Down here in the very corner of my garden, I have this plant here. This is valerian, and it is doing really well down here. This is supposed to be a deer resistant plant, and it'll get pretty tall, so it'll look really nice here at the edge. Moving on to this second row here, we've got a lot of different things going on. We've got garlic up this row, with right inside it is a row of onions, and then from about here onward is onions, and then in the middle we've got some lettuces, we've got fava beans, we've got a few very dwarf pea varieties, and then all the way at the end are the Brussels sprouts. I've been pulling lettuce from these for salads. I think I actually have the right amount of lettuce in my garden this year, because I don't have to pull from all of them to make a salad for myself. And that's mostly who I'm feeding. It's mostly just myself. And so this amount of lettuce has been really great. I just counted and I see 18 lettuce plants out there, and that is counting the one spinach plant that I have. Oh, well, I guess it's 20 if you count path lettuce. These guys just came up all on their own and are looking great. All the fava beans in the garden have started putting on their beans, and they get big really quick, and then they sit at this point for a while before they really fill out the beans inside. I could maybe pick them right now and have some really tender, small green fava beans, but I'm gonna wait until they are fully ripe and I can pull them for dried beans. Some of this garlic is getting real stocky. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 leaves on this one. It's looking real good, but it'll still be a while before that bulb actually starts developing. This will be harvested in, I guess, June, maybe early July. As we look at the Brussels sprout patch, it becomes very obvious which plants are the healthy plants and which ones are not. This one right here is the one that has been the slowest to go to seed, and it is finally looking like it is about to do that. It kind of stretched out real quick, and that's what happens with things that are going to go to seed, like your lettuces and your kales and your other brassicas. They start out as like bush-sized plants, and then all of a sudden they want to grow straight up, and that's how you know they are just about to go to seed. I just turned around to look at this third row here, and look what I found. The first zinnia of the season. This is one of the ones that I started indoors way too early, planted out early because I didn't have room for it, and look at that. It paid off. I mean, beautiful. In this section back here, we also have a couple of second-year onions going to seed and splitting. We've got this spinach and a couple of lettuces, but not really much else. Like the rest of what you see that's green are weeds. I really meant to plant these trellises this past week, but I didn't. So maybe I'll do that today. But yeah, this is all weed right here. And actually this is an edible weed. Most of these are edible weeds. In my garden tours from time to time, I do talk about all the current edible weeds in the garden. So if you go back a few videos, you'll see me talking about that. But I am going to have to pull a lot of this right before I plant, just so that those beans and other cucumbers and such that I'm going to plant in here do not have to compete. I might leave the wood sorrel though. It's got this lovely lemony flavor. I actually eat it all the time in my salads. Alright, let's move down this fourth row now. This is obviously the shadiest row because it's got that tree shading it out. Right here at the front we have the Romanesco broccolis that have been going to flower. The amount of flowers that I'm getting from these is less than I thought, especially because this plant got knocked over pretty hard by the wind. So these may or may not be able to make viable seeds for me because brassicas do need that cross-pollination between plants. But this area is still being productive. We've got garlic in here, and if we go down a little bit further, we've got zinnia, another zinnia that's going to come up. We've got, what are these, cosmos here in the pathway that I think I'm just going to leave where they are because I don't want to accidentally kill them, and I'm sure they're going to be really pretty. And I can just go around. This space is going to be empty here, so I can just come right through here And as we come down to the end, oh, look, I just saw that. Another zinnia is starting to bloom. Love that. We've also got most of my fava beans right here. I had to come through and pull out all the grip grass because it was sticking to me as I was trying to check on the beans. But these are the biggest, furthest along beans down here. So these will be ready first. We've also got poppies in here. You can see right after it rains, I feel like the difference in the color green is the most striking. These are these pale green plants right here. Hopefully these will flower soon as well. And as we come to the very back edge, I am planning on planting this whole edge with fortress crops, which is fortress plants, which are plants, and that's a term from permaculture, which means that they should help keep the grass out. One of these, this is feverfew. This is also a deer resistant plant, and this will be a bit of a taller thing in this area, and I'll plant more of the lower growing fortress plants around it. Alright, let's move on to the raised bed section of the garden. We'll start out by looking at the grapevines that I have planted on this pergola. Only one of them is green at all, but they gotta come out of dormancy, so it'll be a little bit. This one though is looking real healthy. I am so happy with how this area is turning out. I just need a cute little table and a chair to go underneath my pergola. The fig tree is starting to leaf out. Look at that. So cute. And we've got all this stuff in this raised bed is doing really well. We've got some lemon balm in here. We've got a baby walnut tree in here. Oh, look at that. Okay. Let's see. This is supposedly curry plant, sage, parsley, another feverfew that I stuck in here, oregano and thyme, and potentially there will be tarragon coming back in this area. My creeping thyme that I'm hoping will eventually take over this area from the grass is starting to flower. That's these little red bits in here. It's very cute. I've also added a couple of things to this raised bed. This right here is marshmallow. We've got these calendulas here. This Italian oregano has been here for a minute, but I think I just now planted the sweet alyssum, another calendula here. And of course we've got the asparagus, teeny tiny, fluffing up like little ferns. The most beautiful thing out here right now is this chive plant. I mean, look at these blooms. These are gorgeous. I love that. You can see the carrots have also grown, I think, quite a lot since last week. They're much fluffier. And they should be going to seed, I hope, very soon. My lemon thyme plant is also starting to flower. Look at those adorable little pink flowers. This plant looks so much better than it did last year. And then this bed right here, I have not planted anything yet. I'm still thinking about it. And then my two potato beds. You can actually see the plants coming up now. They look really good. This one especially, because the plants are green instead of purple, they stick out really well. And I've put more grass clippings in here to help keep this mulched, and it seems to have kind of discouraged my cat from digging in here as well. And this I'm going to keep piling mulch on as they grow because these are indeterminate potatoes. Coming on over to the berry patch, some of the berries on this blueberry plant actually look like blueberries. I mean, imagine that. They're starting to get big, and I'm getting more and more excited and impatient about them. Also, right next to the blueberries, I have planted St. John's wort that I started from seed, and this is near the blueberries because it also tends to prefer slightly acidic soil. I was looking for red in the strawberry patch, and instead I found a brood of baby box elder beetles. It looks like a lot. We'll see if that becomes an issue. Theoretically, it shouldn't be, but there are a lot this year than there haven't been in previous years. In here we have the biggest strawberries that I know of, at least that I've seen, and they've still not started turning red yet, so maybe by next week I will be showing you some ripe strawberries, but definitely not this week. We've got the babiest little green fruits on the blackberry, and this plant that had its whole stem knocked off by the wind. You can see these leaves right here. That's it starting to grow back. We also have teeny tiny baby raspberries, and these guys are fluffing out incredibly. These are a thornless variety, as are my blackberries, and tucked right in here is my rosemary. It is fighting for its life, but it seems to be holding its own. So this week, as part of our rotating segment, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how all of the composting operations are going. Here is my standard compost pile. It is slowly becoming higher and higher percentage of chicken manure, and also these wood shavings. I actually really like that it comes with all the wood shavings in the bedding, because that's going to help balance the carbon content. Manure is very green, very nitrogen heavy, and you need these browns to kind of capture that nitrogen as it's breaking down, otherwise it'll just run right out of your compost. So that is looking really good. I put really minimal effort into that compost pile. I mostly just put stuff on top of it. I also add my bokashi buckets to that, and I generally, that's when I turn it, I will lift up most of it, put the bokashi in, and then put everything back on top, because the bokashi will break down better if it is kind of in the middle of the pile. Oh my goodness, while we're up here, I almost forgot to tell you guys, I got an elderberry cutting. That is what this is. I guess it's not a cutting, it's more of a sucker, because elderberries will put out shoots the same way mint does, go under the ground and come back up. And this is one of those from a friend whose elderberry is currently exploding. It took a lot of watering to get this guy looking good. Actually, it was looking very sad, and I actually lost the first one that I tried, although to be fair, I put this in that one day that it was way too windy. But these have very shallow roots, and now that it seems to be getting a little more established, I think I can water it a little less often. This is currently my only in-ground worm bin. I have not put any of my own worms in here yet, but the plan is to do that maybe today. I did, however, put some of their bedding in here so that it could start getting necessary microbes, and I did put a banana peel kind of at the bottom to see if I could attract any existing worms that are in this bed into here. Currently I don't see any, but yeah, I will be talking more about this in a video that I make just about these. There's also my indoor worm bin to talk about. I'm not going to open it up and show you because honestly, it's really hard to see the worms. It's a black box, it gets kind of dark in there, but I think I've solved all my problems with the worms that I was having. I now have no gnats whatsoever, no fruit flies, and I think what happened was I was overfeeding them. I was a little too helicopter mom. I didn't want them to be hungry, but I've been feeding them a lot less, and I've been keeping a layer of cardboard on the top, and that seems to have killed off, deterred all of the fruit flies. And these worms are looking healthy. They are making babies. They're little tiny worms everywhere, and egg sacs, and I think they're really thriving at this point. My bokashi setup is still going strong. I fill up usually one of these buckets and then leave it on the bottom to ferment while I fill up the next bucket. And then once this one is full, I'll switch them. I'll empty this into the compost pile and start refilling it and letting the other one ferment. If you want to learn more about bokashi in general, I have a whole series, a whole playlist on my channel about that. But basically, It is a pre-fermentation of your food scraps with an anaerobic bacteria that then makes it much easier to be broken down by the aerobic bacteria in the soil. So you can, if you're intense about it, you can get fresh compost very quickly. Within like 3 weeks, I think, is the fastest I've seen it done. And you can also compost things you wouldn't normally compost, like fats and oils and meats, and things that you can compost. They obviously break down, right? But they would take a lot longer and they would kind of smell really bad in a traditional composting setup. I have been composting like meat and cooked noodles and cheese and oil for I think like 3 years now, and I never get a smell in my compost pile once I transfer the bokashi buckets out there. Like, it'll smell a little bit when you open it, but you pile all the other stuff back on top of it, it breaks down. It's so fast. I really like it. Alrighty guys, well that is all I have for you today. If you want to check out the sticker, remember that link is below. Remember that the quarterly live stream is also on Friday. It is at 6 p.m. Eastern this Friday the 26th. So hope to see you then, and until next time, happy gardening.